Good afternoon. It's Friday, October 24, 2025. INEC's continuous voter registration is still ongoing. Use the opportunity to register to vote. On the news this afternoon, governors back bill on reserved seat for women in politics. SDP suspends national chairman over alleged misappropriation. Flood chases residents away from homes in Ahuda. Nnamdi Kanu's trial delays over claim of inability to access case file. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Trump cancels trade talks with Canada over anti-tariffs advert. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili with the news. Now, we begin the news this Friday afternoon by letting you know that President Bola Tinubu wants the new INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amobito, to defend the integrity of Nigeria's elections. The president describes credible polls as the bedrock of democracy. The president gave the charge shortly after swearing him in at the State House in Abuja on Thursday. He says Professor Amobito's appointment reflects confidence in his competence and character. In his response, Professor Amobito promised to deliver free, fair, and credible elections while deepening democratic values. At his first meeting with INEC directors, he said teamwork, discipline, and integrity will be key to achieving the Commission's goals. Now to matters on women participation in politics. The National Governors Forum, NGF, has pledged its full support for the bill seeking reserved seats for women in Nigeria's legislature. In a statement issued at the end of their meeting in the early hours of today, Friday, the governors urged members to actively lobby both federal and state lawmakers to ensure the passage of the proposed legislation, which aims to increase women's representation in political office. The bill, scheduled for a vote at the National Assembly, seeks to amend the 1999 Constitution. It proposes the creation of special constituencies exclusively contested by women in both the national and state assemblies, aimed at temporarily boosting women's participation in governance. Now, crisis may soon take over the Social Democratic Party, SDP. Now, this is because the party has just suspended its national chairman, Shehu Gaban, over alleged financial misconduct and misappropriation of party funds. Gaban was suspended alongside the SDP national auditor, Nadi Clarkson, and national youth leader, Ifechukwu. The suspension was announced in a statement by its national publicity secretary, Araba Ayeniba. According to Ayeniba, the suspension follows a resolution at the SDP National Working Committee NWC meeting held on Thursday at the party's national secretariat in Abuja. Still on crisis rocking major political parties in Nigeria, this time the PDP. The Board of Trustees BOT of the People's Democratic Party PDP has dismissed allegations of forgery and signature cloning made by the party's national secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, as false and baseless. This was contained in a statement on Thursday by the PDP's BOT chairman, Senator Adolphus Nwabara. Nwabara said that the BOT would not get involved in matters of internal administrative procedure in the public domain. He, however, said that the seriousness of the allegation by Anyanwu necessitated a clarification, noting that it is capable of misleading party members and the general public. Anyanwu had alleged that his signature was forged on the letter transmitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, regarding the party's forthcoming elective convention. Still talking politics, but back here in Rivers State. For those expecting Rivers State Governor Siminala Ifubara to defect from the PDP to the APC, you may find this next story interesting. The National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Moka, says the party will not stop Governor Fubara if he decides to join them. Now, he told our correspondent Onyekachi Nwosu that he is not aware of any ongoing discussions between the governor and the APC.
Not our business to announce those who plan to join or who may join. The people who join are the proper authority to announce their decision to join. So, I can't speculate to that. We just have to wait and see. And I think that it's a matter of public record when a governor decides to lead his party to join a party. But what I would say is that we welcome any governor or any citizen who makes a voluntary choice to join our party.
On the election of some known PDP members as local government chairmen under the APC, Mr. Moka says no part of the law has been violated.
Is there anything in our constitution or in the laws of Rivers State that forbids them from competing to serve at the local government level? Let's not create a false, crisis where there's not. So I won't go into the, details of what's going on at the local government level. But anyone who contested and won an election, the question is whether they were eligible to contest and whether they won. If they won, by whatever party they ran, they won. And if they have been, duly certified as having won the election, I think it should rest rather than try to nitpick and query the identities of these people.
Well, it is now more than a month since River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara returned from suspension, and many in the state are still wondering why his full cabinet is yet to be formed. Public Affairs analyst Opunabon Kotaria says Rivers people had expected the cabinet to be ready by now, but the governor may have valid reasons for the delay, especially in appointing a commissioner for justice and attorney general.
We expect the governor to constitute a full cabinet, but we don't understand why the rationale behind the delay. Rivers persons are eager to know their commissioners, especially the Attorney General of the state. But I believe that the governor must have some cogent reasons. Probably he's still negotiating with, given the peace agreement and the circumstances that led to the state of emergency, probably waiting for them to nominate, recommend, and so on.
Kotaria once served as a spokesperson to former Governor Wike. He says only Governor Fubara can confirm if any part of the peace deal is delaying his appointment.
The governor himself said, in the spirit of that reconciliation and peace, that the state will move forward. So he's the only one that can speak to the sincerity of that agreement or not. And from all indications, he's comfortable with it. And I strongly believe that when it has to do with the appointment of the commissioners, negotiations are ongoing. These are all conjectures because he never made any pronouncement, he never made any statement concerning the appointment of the commissioners.
Also adding his voice to the debate, lawyer Chimene Muonyili says there is no cause for concern yet. Now he explains that the governor is taking his time to consult widely and choose the right people for the job.
We must understand that suspension, the government must have to be prudent in terms of making selections. And this is the time for politics at the highest level. There is a lot of interest going on where the government will have to lie low, either to the federal government or to the appointer. Government will have to be prudent. This is not a family meeting. And of course, there is politics at the highest level, where there is an interest from the presidency down to the level that, of course, from the appointer. Governor wants to select those that are very acceptable. 1 month is not enough. The governor is trying to be careful.
Well, time to talk about the environment. More sanitation marshals will soon be recruited to arrest violators of environmental laws in River State. This is according to the chairman of the Waste Management Agency Board, Dr. Samuel Mwanosike. Speaking to our correspondent in Mekotoka, he says Rivers residents and business owners should dispose of waste in designated receptacles as more bins will be provided across the state.
The point we are now is to get the foundation right. The foundation is get the proper dump sites that will make collection of refuse easy. In environmental activities, it is safe. If you cannot dispose, don't eat. So we believe that when we have finished setting up the 3 new dump sites with all the equipment we need, then we also go to the second stage of recruiting sanitation marshals. After the recruitment, don't forget, we have environmental laws which permit that we take those refuse disposal reporters to an environmental court.
He also reminded residents that the ban on dumping refuse, on road medians remains in force.
We have previous receptacles that we inherited. We don't think they're adequate enough. So what we are saying now is that after drilling on the dump site, the next thing is to make sure we get equipment to also set up the proper receptacles at the properly designated point. And we advise people who live and do business in River State to please caution their words. They should learn how to dispose refuse properly. Every community is aware of refuse pickup points and refuse pickup times. It will be fair enough for them to start learning how to manage their refuse properly.
Still talking the environment, some residents of Akioriso, Akinima, in Ahoda West local government area, are fleeing their homes as flooding worsens. The coordinator of the Ngene Flood Disaster Response Organization, Dr. Ineta Abieba, told the correspondent Ikachimusu that part of Mbiama community are already underwater. Now, he fears that with the speed the Orashi River is rising, the entire Orashi region could soon be submerged.
into several homes in Awuda West local government area. As by October 22, some inhabitants of Akioniso and Akinima were seen fleeing their homes as a result of the invasion of their homes by the flood. This is a true example of what the flood has currently caused mostly the people of Ngene, as the Ngene River is speedily swelling up to its brim. If this trend continues, in no less than a week's time, the entire Abu Awudwa, Awuda East, Awuda West, and Oba Ebe Mandoni local government areas would completely be submerged.
Dr. Abieba lamented that despite repeated calls for help, the government has yet to take any concrete action.
Presently, farmers in Ngene have harvested virtually all their crops as a result of the devastating effects of the flood, and this portends hunger in the nearest future. Yet, no proactive measures have been taken by relevant authorities to mitigate the sufferings of the victims. As against the much publicized government agency stimulation programs and flood awareness campaigns suggesting government's preparedness to contain the threats of the flood, there is nothing on ground to justify those efforts. No IDP camps, amongst other facilities, to prove that there is any seriousness on the part of government.
Now let's take a trip to Omoma. The Ezeberi Ugo, the ninth of ancient Eberi Omoma Kingdom and first-class king of Omoma, His Majesty King Barrister Onyekachi Amowo, has cautioned his people to stay away from hard drugs, saying nothing good ever comes from it. He gave this warning during the launch of a campaign to warn his people about the dangers and legal consequences of drug abuse. The sensitization lectures held at his palace in Eberi were delivered by the NDLEA State Commander Ahmed Mahmouda and DC Operations Obidike Kennedy. The NDLEA commander thanked Eze Omoma for the initiative and spoke on the dangers of drug abuse and the penalties under the law. Now, just before we go on break, let's inform you that if you reside within Choba, Alakahia, Rumalogo, Rumosi, and Rumekini, we have good news for you. The councillor representing Ward 15 at the Obiabo Legislative Assembly, Gladys Spencer Akane, says the council, in collaboration with the River State Ministry of Health, is organizing a free healthcare program today, Friday. Now, Spencer Akane told Nigeria Info that the health outreach will include free tests on malaria, HIV, blood sugar, and immunization for children. She urged residents in need of health care to gather at Obiri Rumumba between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Still to come, Nnamdi Kanu's trial stalls after he failed to open defense. Details on this after this break. Now, the trial of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, was delayed today, Friday. At the resumed hearing on Friday, Kanu failed to open his defense in his ongoing alleged terrorism trial before a federal high court in Abuja. He said he has not been handed the case file to enable him familiarize himself with its content to enable him adequately prepare for his defense. Kanu had asked the court on Thursday to grant him a short adjournment till Friday following the withdrawal of his team of lawyers led by former Attorney General of the Federation AGF, Kano Agabi. Now, he prayed the court for an adjournment till Monday, October 27 to enable him access the case file and familiarize himself with its content. Justice James Omotosho granted him plea and thereafter adjourned till October 27 for the defendant to conduct on October 23rd will not be extended. Still talking legal matters now, Port Harcourt-based lawyer Ifechukwu wants the Supreme Court to treat constitutional cases with more urgency. He was reacting to the court's decision to reserve judgment on the case about the declaration of emergency rule in Rivers State.
classified as very urgent matter so that they should decide it with, and then let us know the illegality or otherwise of such action. The purpose of which we think it will serve now is just merely for the record and as a precedent. But then it was not the purpose for which the papers went to the court. It was for the court to determine the illegality or otherwise of the power of the president.
Chukwu told correspondent Yobi Oruwari that the judgment could have corrected what he called an abnormality if it had been delivered promptly.
We are seeing that the Supreme Court should not do certain things that even an ordinary person will perceive that the court is really not performing its role under the Constitution. That a case was filed and the cases of emergency, just like the case of the illegality of the election of the local government chairman in Rivers State, was given as a related hearing, that now that the Supreme Court has now adjourned this matter for judgment, of what use when the emergency rule has come to an end?
And now the recent pardons given by President Bola Tinubu is still generating reactions. This time, a former spokesperson to Governor Nyesom Wike, Opunabo Nkotaria, wants Nigerians to keep speaking out against policies that do not promote good governance. He made the call while reacting to the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi's directive for a multi-agency review of the presidential pardon list. He says the move undermines the principles of equity and justice.
Nigerians must be very watchful, like they did when this list was released. I commend Nigerians, especially those that have a gumption to speak. And that is what we need to do in order to ensure that the right things are done in this country. Because if we remain silent, we'll be taken for granted. So I'll call Nigerians to continue, never to relent. Whenever they perceive injustice, when they should not just relax and resign themselves to fate, but we should all come out and talk against that injustice. And that is the only way we can make the country better.
Nkotaria adds that there is no justification for pardoning people convicted of serious crimes like murder, drug trafficking, and kidnapping. As you may know, the Attorney General has asked the EFCC, NDLEA, ICPC, and police to review the list of those granted presidential pardon following public criticism over the names on that list. Now let's go over to entertainment. Some filmmakers say they want to change the negative perception of Rivers State as a place defined by political tension and illegal bunkering. And they are the organizers of the upcoming Rivers State International Film Festival, and they plan to use the event to spotlight the positive stories of the state. The coordinator, Ken Osunwa, spoke to journalists on this.
Rivers State has been known for violence, political stories. We are changing the story of Rivers State. If a government of another African country could see what we are doing here and sending their people here, which means our story is hitting our targets. So people are not seeing Rivers State as a political state anymore. We are making a statement step by step, and we are changing the story from what it used to be to a place where that is safe, as a place that is conducive to do business.
Now, the festival's chief executive, Kate Eziwo, says the event starting this October will showcase the creative talent of Rivers people to the world.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced an immediate end to all trade negotiations with Canada over an advert critical to the tariffs he has imposed on the nation. The advert, sponsored by the government of Canada's province of Ontario, quoted Trump's predecessor, Ronald Reagan, an icon of U.S. conservatism, saying tariffs hurt every American. Trump took to social media to express his displeasure over the advert. He described it as fake and shocking, adding that trade talks with Canada were terminated. Trump's administration has imposed a 35% levy on many Canadian imports, as well as individual tariffs targeting particular industries like car and steel manufacturing. Trump has allowed exemptions for goods that fall under a free trade agreement with Mexico and Canada that he negotiated during his first term. Well, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has, since his election earlier this year, attempted to strike a deal that would ease the U.S. tariffs. We go over to sports now. Marcus Rashford wants to stay at Barcelona when his loan agreement from Manchester United ends in the summer. Barcelona have the option to sign Rashford permanently for £28 million, a lower fee than the £40 million United would seek from any other club. The 27-year-old's United contract runs to 2028, but he appears to have no future at Old Trafford while Ruben Amorim is head coach. That's the news, but before we go, here is a recap of the major stories we brought you this hour. We told you that the Nigeria Governors Forum is backing a bill on reserved seat for women in politics. You heard that the SDP has suspended its national chairman and others over alleged misappropriation of funds, but reported that flood has sacked residents away from their homes in Aki-Oriso, Akinima in Ahoda West. We told you that Nnamdi Kanu's trial has been delayed over his claim that he has been unable to access his case file. And on the foreign scene, you heard U.S. President Donald Trump has cancelled trade talks with Canada over an anti-tariffs advert in Ontario. The news was edited by Ifunanya Ubeme Ndukwe. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili. Many thanks for listening.
It's all talk and more talk on Nigerians' #1 talk station.